And welcome out to Flightdeck, podcast dedicated to Montreal Alouettes football, presented by our good friends over at Royal Retros, where you don't need a time machine in order to get some sweet, sweet throwback merch. Head over to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, and you will save 10% off your entire order. I'm Tim Capper. You can follow me on X or Blue Sky at Repact. That's REPPACT.
Hello out there. We're on the air. It's podcast night tonight. That doesn't sound right. Anyways, I'm Cliffy D. You can also find me on X and on Blue Sky over at Cliffy D.
I was wondering where you were going to go.
Well, it's September. I mean, I know this is definitely a football podcast, but hockey is kind of looming, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that are excited. Training camp will start soon for the NHL, and before you know it, be back on the ice and back competing for attention from CFL fans.
Yeah. I think the biggest news today, I think, was the Canadiens doing something very unique with their mid-ice logo. I don't ever think I would have ever seen that in Montreal.
That is a lot of red, I must say.
That's a lot of red, a lot of symbols within it itself. Everybody has seen it. Go out, check out the Canadiens website. I was very surprised in itself.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's 16 days. The Owls will have been off for 16 days coming up to their game this Saturday afternoon, by the way. Saturday afternoon football in Montreal at Percival Molson.
Yes, indeed. Part of a triple header, actually.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad for Steve Daniel, by the way. I really do. I've talked to him many a time when it comes to him doing these triple headers. And we've had bye weeks that have been very interesting in Montreal. We have had bye weeks recently where there really hasn't been anything, but I think I don't know what. And we're talking. By the way, we are going to talk a little bit about the game that we had previously. And by the way, go watch Flightdeck live. Is that the 16 days, second most ever days that the Owls have had off between games in their history. It's just a matter of what do you, Cliff, think was more important in this? Because obviously the storylines are there, but prior to the game, the last game that we had, we had some great news about guys that were potentially going to be coming back, and then we hear who's practicing this week after the bye week. Despite what has been said by the organization, by Coach Moss and by the players, et cetera, how important do you think it was for this extended period of time for the Owls to be off to where they are, where they're wanting to be, and where they have been in the past two seasons, almost, at this same point?
I think this rest was definitely needed. I think this bye week couldn't have come at a better time for this team because, quite frankly, the month of August was absolute garbage for the Montreal Alouettes. I mean, it was just terrible. I mean, losing in blowouts, losing in heartbreaking fashion, and just plain losing. And that's not what this team has been able to. I don't want to say this team is not accustomed to losing because, yes, they, like every team is accustomed to losing, really, when you think about it. But past couple of years, the Alouettes have been, spoiling their fans with, some very exciting, high-paced football. And the month of August did not offer any of that. And a lot of that is attributed to the growing list of injuries that this team has suffered. So to hear that the guys who were on that list that all of a sudden are now back practicing has got to be a sign of relief. It's got to be kind of that, okay, help is on the way now. Like truly help is on the way. Like a lot of the names that, have been off are back practicing or at least warming up, or at least, making the effort to get themselves ready to get back into the game is a great sign, and truly one that was needed because, well, I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but the month of August was pretty terrible for the Montreal Alouettes.
Yes. Yes, it did.
So in a lot of ways, I think this bye week was needed to do a proper reset to really flush everything. As far as I'm concerned, like to really get the bad taste of August out of your mouth and just reset, focus on what's ahead. Because as they say, the season truly doesn't get underway until after Labor Day. Well, guess what? Labor Day is come and gone now, and every game truly, truly matters now. Not just for the Montreal Alouettes, but for pretty much every team that wants to compete for the Grey Cup this year.
No, it's true. And as I said, before the game versus our last game versus Winnipeg, it's again, there were some pluses, and I kind of agree with you on this one, Cliff. I mean, I think, we put out the thing about 16 days, and somebody tweeted back at us saying, "Oh well, we're now in our second streak of 3 games in 11 days." Well, Owls may have not had 2 of those this year, at least yet, or something close to that, but the Owls have had that too. The Owls have had that too. I think every team seems to have a long break, and I think I agree with you. Kind of is necessary. But before we talk about what's to come, because I will admit, I think there were some surprises on guys who were back, which we'll talk about. Quickly, let's talk about what August brought, how it ended, and how obviously we know how we need to move forward. But if we were to quickly sum up the game versus Winnipeg, how could we do this? And obviously we know how August was. It was atrocious. Any letter that begins with the letter A.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. How could we sum up the game versus Winnipeg?
A tough one because, I mean, it was a recipe for failure for the Montreal Alouettes. Let's face it, they had played the BC Lions out in BC for their annual loss. Barely had time to get back home before they were facing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on a Thursday. So very little chance to practice. James Morgan, who had thrown into the fire in BC, kept burning, if you will, against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. There's that particular stretch did this team absolutely no favors. And one couldn't help but wonder if it was just simply a matter of, okay, let's just get through this. Let's get this over. Let's just get this out of the way and, go for that reset in the bye. Because,
right.
I mean, Winnipeg has been pretty mid throughout the year. I mean, they've had great games and they've had terrible games. They've had bright spots. They've had lulls. They've had, they were about as mid as you can get. In a lot of ways, kind of like how the Montreal Alouettes had become mid in that sense. And for the same reason, like same sort of circumstances befell them, like, highs, lows, this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
Both these teams I felt were about as evenly matched as possible when it came to offense, defense, all that stuff. Other than the fact that a lot of Montreal's star players were injured and the depth was being tested in a big way, whereas guys like Zach Collaros, Brady Oliveira, Nick Dembski, they were starting to find themselves a little bit after kind of, going through their own injury woes or just lack of production or what have you. But they seemed to sort of switch on for this game against Montreal, whereas Montreal just switched off for the game against Winnipeg. And I get it. I truly do. I think this Alouettes team just really wanted to get the month of August over with, because you talk about embarrassing loss against the Saskatchewan Roughriders where they just got their lunch eaten for them, a heartbreaking loss against the Edmonton Elks in the last seconds of the game.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, the annual loss to the BC Lions out in Vancouver, and then basically playing the 5-time Western Division champions at home on a short week after coming off of another short week. It is just, this was definitely a month to forget for the Montreal Alouettes.
It was, and it's something that really, I think that Owls fans really haven't been used to, Cliff, because last year we were 4-0 in the month of August. The year prior to that, we were 3-1.
Let's not forget 10-1 to start 2024. I mean, that
Yeah.
to go from that to where the Alouettes are this year in 2025. Yeah, I can understand why a lot of fans, and again, you want to call them fair weather fans. I get that too. Yeah, when you're offering up prime rib and then you kind of snatch it away and then you're offering hamburger, it's like, wait a minute, no, this is not what I signed up for. And I can understand where there's a little bit of frustration and a little misunderstanding, but again, I still go back to listen, during those really lean years for the Alouettes where wins were scarce as hell, you would have been praying for years like this, let me tell you. But
Yeah.
so I get it. I get where there was confusion, frustration, disappointment for sure for a lot of fans, but I always say tough times don't last. Tough people do. And I think this Alouettes team, I really want to believe they've gone through tough times now with players coming back off of injury. And if they can just get themselves sorted out, get their act together for this, September stretch, if you will, like October or September, October, November, like the Burr months, this is your time to shine.
The Burr months. That's a Canada Burr months. What a concept, Cliff. I like how you put that though. Yeah, this is in August. This is probably the worst August that the Alouettes have had in the last 10 years, not including the year after COVID, because you really can't, in my opinion. That's why I didn't include COVID. 17 and 18, they had 1 win Augusts, both those years. I think this is the worst in a long time. I don't remember the last time the Owls have dropped a month in a season. Probably dating back to maybe the streak. I'd have to go back and check for the streak.
Like from 2017 to 2018, I think easily that would have been, there were some winless months there.
No, 17, 18. Well, no, I'm just finding August in particular, right? Since we were just centering on August particular.
Gotcha.
But and I think too is that, we went through that stretch where, and as I said, and I will stand by it again, what I said on Flightdeck Live is that the MBT that we have now is not the MBT that Edmonton had last year in any way, shape, or form. So the injury that he had, whether it was known and played through like Cody did last year with his ribs, or whatever it was the wrong choice, in my opinion. It's still a question I really would like to ask Danny Machocha when we speak with him later on this year. Has he ever, and it's just to be not really specific, but has he ever regretted a trade? I'm curious to know, because obviously you and I both know. We've been around long enough to know. So sometimes trades do not work out. They don't.
Yeah.
But this one, whether it was, a trade for trade and then a signing, we see that all the time. But it hurt the Alouettes offensively. We went through the stats. You and I were going through the stats prior to the game. This is the team prior to Davis Alexander getting hurt. It was a monster on second, hardly any 2-and-outs. It was a monster on second down percentages. Now second down percentages, they're near the bottom of the league. It's hurt them. But yet, it's funny. You look, and I made this point for Flightdeck Live, the plus about James Morgan. He stayed upright last game. He stayed upright. Didn't get sacked. Didn't seem to be flustered, except for the one pass we shouldn't have thrown. But we get one of those every game.
He actually had 2, but yeah, I get what you're saying. And actually, it's kind of funny. I believe that same week or the week after, just before the Labor Day games, when Pro Football Focus came out, the Alouettes O-line actually got a positive grade. I'm wondering if that may have been the contributing factor to it, was the fact that James Morgan was not sacked. I mean, he was given he was given time and space to do things, but he was also under a lot of pressure as well. And I'm not just talking about like pressure to succeed. I'm talking about like, the defenses were also pressuring him quite a bit. Like Winnipeg was definitely in his kitchen a little too often, but I mean, he still made relatively good decisions for the most part. Just it just wasn't clicking. And that's the thing, like this offense. And to me, I think that's the one thing I am sincerely hopeful for, that during this bye week, while the players were, resting, relaxing, getting together with families, going home, whatever they did for the bye week, I hope that this coaching staff, particularly the offensive parts of this coaching staff, were working hard on this offense, like to find a way to get this offense going, because quite frankly, not good.
No,
Not good at all. And I get, obviously, with this playbook was designed with Davis Alexander in mind, and when he's back in behind center, obviously this everything is clicking, everything is great. It's as if they didn't plan for the possibility that he could get hurt, and then whether it's MBT or Caleb Evans or James Morgan coming into this game, there was no plan for them whatsoever, and they just revert back to this bland, vanilla, high school-like offense. And look what it produced, or rather, look what it didn't produce: touchdowns.
Mm. Yeah, and we were talking pre-show about just that same thing, and we mentioned it on Flightdeck Live. 4 offensive touchdowns in 5 games. And it just goes to show the stats we were looking at: the 2 and outs and the second down percentages, which were consistently up here, or where you needed to be in the league, have dropped drastically. I mean, the Owls, luckily, they're still 4th in the league when it comes to 2 and outs. That's great. They've only had 42. Some of the other teams are a lot higher than that. They're a lot better than the Owls.
Sure.
And then second down percentage. Now the Alouettes, which were, to me, tops of the league originally, the first 5 weeks in, they're now second to last in the league. They're only 40. They only convert 46.1% of their second downs. You have 3 teams over 50.
Yeah, you're not going to win games just kicking field goals. I mean, no matter how good Jose Matos Diaz has been for this team when it comes to putting points on the board, he can't do it alone. You need to score touchdowns. And expecting your defense to do it for you with pick sixes, obviously you can't do that either, because, this defense, which once, the first part of the year looked absolutely fearsome and dangerous, I feel like they've gotten figured out as well. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're spending way too much time on the field. Even getting gassed is one thing, but it just feels like they've been figured out. Like they're not fearsome anymore. They don't have that, striking fear into their hearts, the hearts of their opponents, like they used to. Like now it's almost like a joke practically. And I'm hoping that too is going to get back on track, and maybe just with certain guys coming back into the lineup, and if this offense can stay on the field for the Alouettes and start putting points on the board, like honest to goodness touchdowns on the board, not just field goals, but actual touchdowns on this board, that should help the cause too. And maybe help get this defense back where they don't feel like they have to do every single thing and spend way too much time out on the field and just, getting exposed. Because I hate to say it, but that's where this Alouettes defense is right now. Is they've been exposed. Like they pulled the curtain back, and you figured out who the man behind the curtain is, and it has not been pretty. Again, this whole month of August, I keep saying it has not been pretty, but my hope is that during this bye week, this entire Alouettes coaching staff, when you really think about it, has gotten themselves figured out, getting themselves figured out, and reloading, resetting, and readjusting themselves for this latter third part of the CFL season.
No, 100%, 100%. I think if you're able to improve the offense, the defense will they'll get, not necessarily get better, they'll be better, because they won't be on the field as long, because we've shown, as you said, cracks have shown, but I think it's also a combination. And I know what the players say. We just got to make the play. We're not making the plays, the type of thing. They want to make excuses, which is not something that they would normally do under this, with Coach Moss being ahead of the team.
No,
but
and
you got to look at it too. You got to look at that too. Just the amount of time you're on the field. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a combination of a couple of things, no matter what they say.
Yeah, it comes down to execution more than anything else, though. We know that this team has a very talented defensive players. They've got talented offensive players too, but if they're spending time on the injury list, and they're obviously not on the field, so
Mm-hmm.
Here's hoping that now that we hear some of these names that are going to be that have been back practicing with the Alouettes this week, it's a sign of hope. It's you know at least putting people at ease, knowing that okay, if this guy's back and that guy's back and so on is back, okay, if they can get on the field and stay healthy and be able to contribute right away, that's going to take a lot of pressure off, and that doom and gloom is going to slowly dissipate. And that's my hope right now, is that this team reinvents itself, or rediscovers itself, I should say. Like, remember who the hell you are. And yeah, this team does have an elite defense. This team does have an explosive offense. They just need to remind themselves of it. And that's the beautiful thing about this league, is you're never truly out of it until you're out of it. I mean, until there's zeros on the clock, you have a chance. That's been proven time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
And my hope is that starting this Saturday, that this Alouettes team realizes who they are and gets back to being who they are.
No, I agree. We look at what's coming at, what we're hoping to come out from the bye week, and as you just stated, it looks good. It looks good. It really does. And I'm trying to think how we can cap the last portion before we get into this, talking about what we're seeing currently on the field. I'm trying to think if there's anything any more that we've seen. I mean, we talk about so many different storylines, Cliff, usually in a game. I mean, sometimes there's nothing. There are a little bit few more storylines coming into this game. And really it does have to do with the players itself. But you know what? I think we're going to do that. We're going to talk about it. But before we do, we might as well go ahead and just remind everybody that we are on social media. You can find us anywhere. Just look for any of the podcast aggregates. You can find the show there. Also, if you head over to www.alouettesflightdeck.ca, you can go to our entire archive. I mean, you can hear Cliff and I from 10 seasons ago, first show. Mm-hmm. Wasn't the best show, but it was the first show. That's all we got to say. So,
well, they say a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and that was our single step. And
that's right.
Yeah, probably go back and listen to it now. We'd probably be cringing quite a bit. It's like, oh God, really? And
oh no, dude! I can go back even farther into my podcast career, and there are cringeworthy, episodes. I know we've had issues with episodes and thinking that they're coming, finishing a show and it being bad episodes. Think that it was a bad episode in our own minds because we want it to be the best as that we can. No, there been. Go back into my archive. Oh, yeah. And these are days when I was doing the show alone. So, but yeah. Also, if you want to find us elsewhere on socials, you can do so by finding us on X or Blue Sky over at Alouettes Flightdeck. Facebook over at Alouettes Flightdeck Pod, and Instagram and YouTube over at Alouettes Flightdeck. Speaking of YouTube, but do not forget that not only can you find the audio version of the show, you can find the full broadcast video version of the show there too, and our post-game show, Flightdeck Live, which is live after every single Alouettes home game. Every single Alouettes home and away game, no matter where it may be, just like it will be this Saturday. Stay tuned to all of our socials. Also, if you're looking to rep some merch, we have Thanksgiving coming up. We're hoping that everybody who doesn't have a Cartoon Bear 56 shirt or logo shirt or one of our If You Know shirts, make sure you order them. Head over to flightdeckgear.ca and order them. Should be able to get them. Should be able to get them by the time that before the game comes around. And just a little bit of a teaser. It's something that Cliff and I have been talking about for a little bit, and we've finally been able to get things going. And I'm fingers crossed we will have them before Thanksgiving. This is first Cliff has heard this, hoping that's the date that I have put forward. It's gonna be a little limited edition something that we've not done before. Now, I was gonna grab that. I'll just use this as an example. No, it is not stickers. But it's something. little bit of something that we've been working on for a little bit,
Okay.
and we'll tease it. I'm hoping it comes soon. I really do. I'm really hyped. I'm really hyped about these things. I really am.
Well, listen,
I
I don't know how you're going to top stickers, but okay, let's.
Okay, no, and I know Cliff, you and I talked about this, but it's not one thing; it's two, and they're very limited. Very limited. That's all I will say.
There you go, folks. I mean, if that
Yeah.
doesn't get your motor running a little bit, get you thinking a little bit, get the hamster wheel going. I mean, check it out, folks. I mean, that's all I got to say is, make sure you stay tuned to our socials. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're following all that good stuff. Make sure you tell everybody about the Alouettes Flightdeck because, we're back now basically until the end of the CFL season, like literally the end of the season itself, not just the Alouettes.
Yeah.
However far they go, but obviously we're hoping well into late November, but we're still here for a while, folks.
Yeah. YouTube, don't forget to, by the way, if you haven't liked, make sure you do like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know that when we do go live or when a new episode is available. And again, we this year we want to make sure that again we do thank our presenting sponsor, Royal Retros, where if you go to royalretros.com, use the code Flightdeck at checkout, you will save 10% off your entire order. So now we're talking about coming into the game this week, and there are quite a few storylines, Cliff. There really are. Not only from the players, which we'll talk about the players that were practicing this week. Some I think were a surprise to both of us. But also, I think the one thing we can say for sure is James Morgan is starting. There's no if, and, or buts about that. He's going to be starting this week.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah. But I think one of the cool things is that, with the guys who are coming back, it's very possible that James will be quote unquote, I guess we could say, reunited with a guy who he has a little bit of history with and a guy he actually spoke to about coming to the Alouettes. And I think it's a pretty cool part of this week's storyline.
Yeah. Interesting to note, for those of you that are wondering what we're talking about, that would be one Austin Mack that has known James Morgan for quite some time, apparently, which unbeknownst to us too, which is a kind of a cool little nugget to find out. The two of them have paired up for a combine. I think it's a combine tryout.
Yeah.
And just from there, and James Morgan had talked about how important Austin Mack was to his development as far as coming to be a part of the Alouettes, and the two have always stayed in touch, and I'm sure they've even that's a little too Disney to say they dreamed of playing together, maybe, but if they did, then that dream's going to come true on Saturday because Austin Mack, who has been out with an ankle injury for the past few weeks, back on the field, back practicing, and all indications are that he is primed and ready to go. In fact, he even sort of alluded to it on his Instagram. There's something about Instagram when like CFL players, kind of talk about the comeback on their Instagram feed.
God, yeah.
Yeah, we won't mention the other one, but Austin did sort of allude to the fact that his comeback starts this Saturday, and I'll tell you what, I am looking forward to seeing if James Morgan and Austin Mack can sort of rekindle that magic that they had back in the day. I mean, brief as it may have been, but just the idea that these guys clearly do know each other, they have a history of sorts. If they can take that and turn it into just that connection that we talk about how important it is that the quarterback has that connection with the receivers and vice versa, how important it is for the entire offense, really. If Austin Mack can go out there and help James Morgan make some awesome plays happen, I'll tell you what, OS fans will be jumping out of their seats on Saturday. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. I'm just excited to see Austin Mack back on the field, to tell you the truth. But
if he can help find out. Yeah, and we'll find out too. Obviously, it's just practice reports right now.
Right.
We'll find out more or less, quote unquote, unofficially tomorrow who will be playing. And then we'll see on Friday when it comes to the depth charts. But the way that it looks though right now, Cliff, We got a lot of guys returning. A lot of guys, and it could be a huge plus.
It can, and let's face it. I mean, I keep talking about how this Alouettes depth has been tested with a lot of these injuries, and a lot of the guys that had to step in for the name players, if you will, that were on the 1-game or 6-game list. For the most part, they've done a pretty good job in stepping up, but I mean, there's still a difference when it comes to, say, a Marc-Antoine Dequoy or an Austin Mack or even a Davis Alexander, versus the people that were replacing them. And it's not a knock on those the replacements by any stretch, because again, those replacement players were basically thrown into a tough situation and basically told sink or swim. And I feel like they definitely didn't sink, despite what the record of the Alouettes indicates. I think for the most part, they were able to tread water, keep their heads above water, and put in a very solid effort to keep the seat warm, if you will, for the guys that we know can be truly elite players in this league. And it's just a matter of them getting back on the field and doing what they do best. So we're going to be seeing a lot of that this coming Saturday. And I tell you what, everybody who started sleeping on this team again and starting to think the worst of this team, hey, I say go for it. Because that exact same scenario happened in 2023, and look how that story ended. And if there's one thing that Jason Moss talked about, is sometimes lightning does strike twice in the same place. Sometimes history can repeat itself. So I don't believe he's putting all of his eggs in that basket per se, but it's just a simple idea: is listen, we've done it before. There's no reason why we can't do it again. And I think that's the message that he's been trying to drive home over the past couple of weeks, despite the injuries, despite the losses, despite everything that's been going on, is that this team is built to compete. This team is built essentially to win. They just need to remind themselves of that. And with any luck, we're going to see that again this coming Saturday.
Yeah, that's true. And Mazza talk about it. These as of today, it's very possible, and I think this is more than a 90% chance that these guys showing up. It's just my opinion. Tyson Philpott has practiced twice this week. He was even interviewed. I think he's going to be on the active roster. James Letcher Jr., because despite how good a job Travis Tice did, Cliff, it'll be nice to have Letcher also in the backfield for returning, one way, shape, or form. Mac, as you mentioned, back. And Marc-Antoine Dequoy, shoulder is back. Has been practicing both days. Sean Thomas Erlington, STE, last 2 days. And here's the big. Well, Davis Alexander was limited. This is one question they're saying probably not is Tyler Snead. He has a heel injury. It's very possible he will be on the 1-game injured list for this week. But this last name though, Cliff, I'm not going to say it would be a make or break, but it could easily be the type of impact that Darnell Sankey made. Because remember talking about you were talking about parallels between potentially this year and 2023. Mustafa Johnson could make his 2025 debut. And we remember, fans remember, media remembers what this guy could do. And to have him in the backfield, along with the guys that we currently have on this defensive line, dude, I can only imagine if he is clear to play, what it would be like to have him with everybody else. Could he be, as I said, that Darnell Sankey type of guy to make that to flip the script?
Tell you what, you wouldn't get much better than that as far as like we talk about an impact player, like someone who can step in right away and completely shift the mindset, the focus, the identity even of this defensive line. And let's make no mistake, this defensive line is stacked with a lot of talent. We constantly talk about Isaac Adiyemi Berglund, Lowell Ugalak, Dylan Wynn, Josh Archibald, Sean Lemon. I mean, like if Mustafa Johnson can come back into this lineup and integrate himself, holy cow! I mean, you're once again you're talking about the rich getting richer, and there's been a big difference in this defensive line since Mustafa Johnson went down to injury last year, and look how long it's taken for him to get back. But
I
if he can get
know.
back and be healthy again and be that absolute terror that he was in 2023, let's not forget in 2023, I mean, this guy was just an absolute beast on that defensive line. If he can get back to being that again in 2025, I think a lot of offensive lines and a lot of quarterbacks are going to be just just panicking just a little bit to see
Think
Moose
about
there.
that. Mustafa and Isaac. And by the way, still with even with the week off, by the way, Isaac still leads the CFL in overall sacks with 8.
Absolutely. And he's going to want he's reached and surpassed his personal best. And he wants to keep adding on to that. I mean, he's made it very clear. He does not want to be just considered in the running for the most outstanding Canadian, but most outstanding defensive player. And I'll tell you what, he would absolutely 100% get my vote because he truly has been a force this year. Despite everything that's been going on with the Alouettes during their schneid that they've been on in August, essentially, Isaac is still producing. He is still making plays happen. He is still a terror out there for opposing quarterbacks and such. So, but if he knew that he had someone like Mustafa Johnson backing his play, along with guys like, as we mentioned, Walt Ugalak, Dylan Wynn, Sean Lemon, and so on, man, I guarantee you he would be all kinds of excited to have those guys lining up alongside of him on the defensive line. Oh my, that sounds like a lot of fun to me.
And I will admit, I said, hearing these guys, we were all teased by it a couple weeks ago, but it's great to see these guys back. And I'm still like I said, the team has already said that Davis will be returning sometime this year, which I have no doubt. I agree with.
Davis
I'm still
Alexander.
sticking. Huh?
You're talking about Davis Alexander.
I'm talking about Davis Alexander. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we're talking about all the additions and stuff like that. I'm still standing by what I said. I think, if at earliest, I think he would return next week versus Saskatchewan. But again, we'll see.
We'll temper expectations. And as I said too, we want him back at 200% because 100% isn't going to be enough. We want to make sure that Davis Alexander is beyond healthy, beyond ready to go. You literally need a bullet to stop him. Like that's the kind of healthy we want Davis Alexander to be at. And if he's not at that, then don't rush it back, because we saw what happened when he was, and I hate to say it, but I can't help but feel like he was rushed back. And maybe that was his, youthful energy and that want, that desire to carry this team on his back to prove that he could be the man here. Well, I think there's no question. He is the man here in Montreal. This is his football team. He doesn't have to prove anything to anybody as far as I'm concerned. But we need him healthy. This Alouettes team needs Davis Alexander at 200%. And if he's not, then don't do anything stupid. Don't do anything foolish when it comes to his health, because this is a guy that can be around and can lead this team to multiple Grey Cup wins. I am standing on business when it comes to that. But he's got to be healthy. He's not going to win a Grey Cup on the sidelines. He's not going to win a Grey Cup on the 6-game injured list. That's just not going to happen. You need him healthy, full stop. And if he is healthy, 100%, 200% ready to go, then get him out there. But otherwise, don't do anything foolish. I have to believe now the team has seen what has happened when he's not out there, because he may have been rushed back a little too quickly. Now I feel like he's definitely had his time. I mean, as you said, this is probably going to be the last game that of the 6 games that he'd be missing. So in theory, he could be back against the Saskatchewan Roughriders in Saskatchewan, where he has tasted victory before, leading a team to victory.
Yep.
If that's the case, that'd be be excited, folks. But again, I can't overstate how important it is to have not just Davis Alexander, but pretty much everybody that we've been talking about 100%, 200% ready to go.
Yep. No, I agree with you. Owls are a 3-point underdog at home. And I think one other thing too, Cliff, we're talking about storylines, is that there is really another storyline too. You check the practice report, so far, and Hamilton hasn't had one. Why? They played on Labor Day Monday. So they're coming off a short week.
Yep.
Most likely they're able to have a 1 game practice or 1 day of something.
1 game and maybe, or 1 practice, maybe a walkthrough if they're lucky.
Yeah. So that's another part. That's another part too. But I mean, again, is it the last time that I'm trying to think, when was was it last year? When was it that Bo Levi got pulled? That was in 20, was that in 23?
It was 24.
Before he made his resurgence?
That was in 2023 or 24, yeah. I should say.
It was 24.
Yeah, when the Alouettes played in Hamilton. Or no, sorry,
it was here. Yeah.
but yes, it was against the Alouettes where he was basically demoted.
He was Vernon Adams.
Yeah, I guess for lack of a better term.
Yeah, for lack of a better term. I gotta check and see if that's going to show up in the Oxford Dictionary yet. Thoughts on that though? Obviously, the Owls have gone through that before. Every team has gone through that. The Owls have done that before. They've done a Thanksgiving Day Monday and then gone to BC on the Friday. Good God.
Happened last year.
Yeah. So what we don't know who's hurt, who's not. Until at least Thursday when we see what their practice, what happens for their practice.
I'm sure team-wide, the Hamilton Tiger Cats have hurt feelings because of how they lost the game this past Monday. Because, oh my. I mean, that ended up being one hell of a game between Hamilton and Toronto. And I think Hamilton, it kind of reminded me of the Montreal BC game earlier this year where, like, with just basically seconds left on the clock, you think you have this game in the bag, and no, you don't. No, you don't. I mean, the only thing I can say is at least, there wasn't like a boneheaded penalty that moved the kickoff up 10 yards, but I digress. Didn't need it.
Thank God for that 1 second for Toronto, eh?
Oh my. I had to laugh. I'm like, you idiot, get out of bounds. Stop the clock. Like, but all you need is that 1 second left. And I'll give John Brissett credit for trying to dive for the touchdown and get the win, like an impressive win. But oh man, that talk about like nail biter right there. But the funny thing is, Nick Arbuckle, I think they started on I think on the 20-yard line, and just he heaved the ball to Brissett to set up that. But again, going back to the Montreal BC game earlier this year, that's basically what it was. Hamilton had taken the lead. I don't think that, again, we talk about how no lead is safe. I mean, Montreal had a very scant lead. All they had to do was just buckle down on defense. But nope, a hotshot quarterback comes, gets the team into field goal range, and that's all she wrote. That's the exact same thing that happened on Labor Day Monday with Toronto Argonauts. So I'm sure that there's a lot of pissed off, angry, disappointed players on that Hamilton sideline that's just going to want to just take it out on the Alouettes on Saturday.
I saw one thing, and I don't know if you saw the same thing. And this is, again, we're just talking about this because this is what we saw, and we're only assuming what's going to be on who's going to be practicing and who's not. Kenny Lawler on that late touchdown looked like he smacked his head. Now, this is just my view. I don't know if you saw it that way also, but it looked like he smacked his head on the turf and came up not 100%. And obviously we don't know if he was. I haven't read media in Hamilton. I don't know if it's been reported if he does have a concussion or if he was put into protocol. I don't know, but something seemed off. Something seemed off. It's like the same thing that happened in the Winnipeg game too this past week. What is it, Woltarski?
No, Sean.
Somebody in the end zone looked like he came up lame on that missed on that. We're talking about the pregame, that 2-point interception return for a 2-pointer.
Yeah, I think it was Dalton Sean who would
actually. Yeah, he came up lame.
Yeah.
So did you see the play I'm talking about when it comes to Kenny Lawler?
Yes.
Do you agree with me? or do you see it differently?
Well, no, I mean, I'm sure the momentum kind of took over a little bit, and maybe it didn't hit right away, but eventually, as you said, yeah, he did look a little wobbly.
Yeah,
So
for a touchdown celebration, I agree with you. He just laid there for a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And even when the guys pulled him up.
And that's, God forbid, if he did have a concussion, that's the worst possible thing you could do to somebody, is to yank them up like that.
I know.
Oh, so yeah, that's definitely something that's going to be looked at. I mean, and maybe he's fine. Maybe there is nothing wrong with, but still, as you said, that is something that is worth considering, especially if I'm Hamilton and I'm thinking about the fact that I just played. We just played a game on Monday. Now we got to go play a game basically 4 days later. When you think about it, on the road. I mean, not that Hamilton and Montreal are so far apart, but it's still the idea that you're basically playing on a short week, and you want to make sure everybody's at 100% as much as possible. Which is, having just played, a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's going to be at 100%. There's going to be some tired people there, and
yeah,
I guess we'll see just how tired they truly are, and how much did Toronto take out of them in playing that Labor Day game. But yeah, I think definitely Kenny Lawler. Oh, Kenny Lawler is always someone you got to keep an eye on, no matter what.
Oh God,
I've said on numerous occasions he is one of, if not the best receiver in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can go, he will definitely go. There's no question about that. But one has to wonder now, with this in mind, could they maybe think about, maybe put him on a pitch count even, or just maybe tell him to take a seat for this game? Because again, they do have other receivers they can go to as well.
And we've seen too, sometimes symptoms for a concussion may not come right away.
Also true.
So again, this is all speculation based off of one play that we saw in the Labor Day Classic. But right. it looked bad enough for us to be talking about it. We'll see what happens when they do practice, which would be tomorrow or Thursday, their first practice. So, or the only practice. So we'll see.
That's it. Still it's food for thought.
Mm-hmm. Any last thoughts? There's one other topic I wanted to talk about, which has been kind of bantered about. The commissioner talking about Grey Cup and stuff like that. I was curious to know what your thoughts. But any other topics? Any other comments about when it comes to this matchup versus the Tiger Cats Saturday at 1 p.m.?
I'm curious to see how this team is going to react. Like, just coming off the bye, one would have to think they're rested. They're hopefully refocused, ready to go, ready to get this last half of football or last third of football underway. I won't say the pressure is on to win, but at the same time, you have a great opportunity to equal Hamilton in the standings. Yep. And with Toronto now all of a sudden showing signs of life, when like this time last month, they were basically left for dead. And they're looking to improve. They're looking to get certain players back and get them ready for the home stretch for the playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
You can ill afford to take any games off at this point. I mean, I'm not saying you have to win every single game. It'd be great if you did. Obviously, it would definitely help your odds considerably. But I think Montreal has a golden opportunity right now. They're playing a Hamilton team that just played a few days ago. I'm not saying necessarily they're banged up per se, but at the same time, they're going to be feeling it for sure.
Yeah.
And maybe they aren't going to go balls to the wall and try to, destroy Montreal in the process. But I cannot but wonder if maybe they too have to sort of check themselves a little bit as far as what they have to do in order to win this game. I mean, I'll say it, Bo Levi Mitchell, he's a better quarterback than what James Morgan is. I mean, shoot, after like 10 plus years in the league, I hope so. And all those touchdowns and everything that he's thrown over, like the career that he's had, I hope he's a better quarterback than James Morgan. But I don't think Bo Levi Mitchell wants to lose this game. And I think he's going to do everything he can to win this game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and keep things going and keep pace. Like keep, they're on the top of the Eastern Division right now and they want to stay there. If Montreal wins, record-wise, they'll be equal. I mean, then you're gonna have to go into the whole points thing as far as tiebreakers and all that jazz. But again, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. But ultimately Montreal wants to defend the home turf. They want to show that the time off did them some good and that they can be that competitive team again. Hamilton, simply put, they want to stay where they are. And we always say, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And right now, Hamilton is the man in the Eastern Division. But as I said, too, you got Toronto now all of a sudden waking up and smelling the coffee. And they're not too far behind the Alouettes, folks. I mean, Montreal really has to win in order to keep pace and just put that much more distance between themselves and Toronto and also Ottawa, too. It's going to make for some exciting football, though. And I think this team is up for it, especially now with like all these star players getting ready to come back into the lineup, get back on the field. Like, this is a very, very important stretch, and it all starts on Saturday. And as I said, you can ill afford to take any games off. You can ill afford to take any plays off, even. So I'm looking forward to seeing what both of these teams can bring on Saturday. And I'm looking forward to this being a very competitive, and dare I say it, Tim, a high-scoring match for both of these teams. I definitely see this turning into a shootout, believe it or not.
Oh, nice. Okay. Plus two is, by the way, is that the last 4 games the Alouettes have come back after a 16-day break. They've won the last 4. So,
well, that's a positive.
that's a positive for sure. So the thing I want to end on is that the commissioner was on a Saskatchewan radio this past week, and they were talking about the Grey Cup and the potential of where the Grey Cup's going to be. I know this is bantered about by a few others in the media, and I just wanted to at least chime in. I wanted us to chime in on this, Cliff. They're looking to see who.
Sorry, just to clarify, you're talking about the 2027 Grey Cup.
I was just about to say that. Yes, literally, I was just about to say that. Thank you.
Okay.
So it's a matter of who is going to potentially bid or get the 2027 Grey Cup. I've heard different thoughts about it. I think we need to at least talk about Montreal's potential. Unfortunately, I kind of agree with a lot of other media members that have talked about this already. It's a year too early. Potentially because the Big O's new roof will not be available until approximately 2028. So I think at that the earliest that the Alouettes would be able to bid for a Grey Cup would be for 2028. I heard about this. I know we've talked about it before. I know others have too. I would love to see a personal Molson Grey Cup. It won't happen. I would love for it to happen, but it won't happen. Because I mean, think about it. It was COVID-ish for Hamilton. I think it was 20,000 or whatever it was. Then the 3 years later, it was 24,000, whatever. I understand Hamilton's a different beast than Percival Molson.
Yes.
I would love it. I don't think it's going to happen. But 28, 29, I kind of see it. I can kind of see it happening. Who do you think has the best available chance at getting it? Because there's been banters. Do they want to go back out west again? Do they want to? Because right now there hasn't been a Grey Cup out east since the last Hamilton Grey Cup. And it won't this year and next year are going to be Western teams. It's going to be Winnipeg and Calgary.
Yeah, and you just had Vancouver as well. So last year. So again, 3 Western teams in a row. You got to show some love to the East. There's no two ways about it. Unless you want to go completely off the rails and do like a neutral site game, like a truly neutral site game in a place where they've never had a Grey Cup or even currently have a CFL team. That's always a faint possibility, but realistically, logistically, you got to make it work. And I don't know if you can afford to go off script, if you will. I mean, it would have to be an established, CFL stadium hosting the Grey Cup. With that in mind, that kind of leaves, like, as you said, Montreal, forget it. It's not going to it will never happen at Percival Molson Stadium. And let's be honest, even if they talked about it, and even just going by the COVID numbers that you talked about back in 2021, in theory, you could do that in Percival Molson Stadium, but then you're also looking at, especially with the cost of everything going up these days, you're talking about like $500-$600 to even hopefully possibly barely break even. If you're talking about like $500-$600 to sit on those benches that we sit on at Percival Molson Stadium, which we do it under duress when you think about it. We're not paying no $500-$600, but can you imagine for a Grey Cup game paying that kind of money? To me, that's a hard no. I'm sorry. I love this league. I love everything about it, but that's still a hard no for me. I need if I'm going to be paying $300, $400, $500 for a ticket, my butt needs to be sitting on an honest to goodness seat. Full stop. Like that's like non-negotiable as far as I'm concerned. And yes, there are some spots in Percival Stadium that do have actual seats, and those will no doubt go for a fortune if, God forbid, Montreal ever hosts the Grey Cup at Percival Molson Stadium. So all this to say is, when it comes to Montreal and Grey Cup, it's big O or bust. And if the new roof on Olympic Stadium is not done by, I'm thinking realistically, we're looking at 2029 before we can even think about a Grey Cup in Montreal. Now, with that in mind, as soon as we know for sure the roof is good, you damn well better have the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, we are long overdue to have a Grey Cup party, festival, and game in the 514.
Currently 17 years.
Yep. And listen, for the longest time, Hamilton was on the outside looking in when it came to hosting Grey Cups. Not anymore. They've hosted two in this decade. They've hosted two.
Yeah.
So again, another reason why they wouldn't go back to Hamilton, at least not right away. Now, mind you, they've shown that they can do it. It can be done. You can have a Grey Cup there. And it was actually, I truly enjoyed going to Hamilton for the Grey Cup in 2023. The Alouettes playing in it certainly helped. But I mean, even besides that, I still had a really good time in Hamilton for the Grey Cup. So yes, you can host Grey Cups there. But I think realistically, if you're going to go with an Eastern team, you're now back down to Ottawa and Toronto as far as who's going to be potentially vying for that 2027 Grey Cup.
I think the issue too is that we talk about with all this money that they're putting into BMO for the World Cup, will they have the means to do it? I heard somebody say, well, the Argos don't have a president. Hello, Owls don't have one either. Technically, they don't have one either. And one thing was bantered around, and I kind of agree with this. And at least we got a little bit more of the timeline too. Is that the south stands in Ottawa are not going to be demolished until 2027. I thought it was going to be after this season. It looked like they're building their
north side.
As the north side? The north side. Sorry. They're going to be building their new smaller arena first. And then they're going to be building, which kind of makes sense now that you think about it. And they're talking maybe a last hurrah. 2027 could be the last hurrah right before they basically cut the attendance in Ottawa in half for 2 years. Might be the best place to do it. I don't know if Toronto would. I mean, Toronto, yes, they're doing some upgrades. They're going to have with these new rooftop restaurants and stuff like that they're putting in for World Cup and keeping this stuff there. Or Edmonton. I honestly think of those three, it would really only be Edmonton, Ottawa, and Toronto. I would be all in for an Ottawa Grey Cup. I really would. Just not because of because of distance. Okay, I'll just say it.
It's a Grey Cup we can drive to. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry
exactly.
we don't have to worry about
drive
flights.
or take the train. Either way, drive or take the train. That's the thing. Yeah, I agree. So,
and ultimately, that's the advantage of, at least for us, to having in an eastern city would be, the travel. Just like it, obviously, our friends out west would, if they wanted to come see the Grey Cup, they would have to get on the plane this time around. So,
yeah.
Ultimately, though, it really does come down to. I mean, it comes down to so many things when you think about it. I mean, Toronto definitely you can make an argument for it because yes, they've already sunk all this money into upgrading BMO Field for the World Cup, so you may as well get some usage out of it as well, because we know about the attendance woes when it comes to the Argos. Despite the fact that they've got a competitive team, they're still having a hard time putting butts in seats, and it baffles me, because I truly believed, like, when they announced that they were moving the BMO Field, I was excited for them, because I thought this is what helped revitalize the Alouettes, was going from the Big O into Percival Molson Stadium, going to that smaller open air stadium where you're on top of the action, and it's an intimate setting and all that wonderful stuff. You're downtown. I really truly thought it was going to be the same thing for the Argos when they went to BMO Field, getting out of the Sky Dome or Rogers Center, or whatever the hell you want to call it. You know, getting out
Sky
of that.
Dome.
Well, it'll always be the Sky Dome to me. Don't kid yourself. But getting back to, you know, it's the same idea. Going into a smaller, more intimate area, you're closer to the action, all that wonderful stuff. I really thought that was the same thing that happened to the Alouettes was going to happen to the Argos. Not quite. And that's unfortunate. I'm sure there's any number of reasons why it didn't pan out the same way it did for the Alouettes when they moved to Percival Molson Stadium. But I think, considering that they've put all this money into doing a massive upgrade of BMO Field for the World Cup, at least you've got those facilities in place and ready to go, for lack of a better term. So I definitely see Toronto hosting another Grey Cup in the not too distant future, especially with those amenities in place. I still think back, though, I think the last time was in 2016. They host
who? Ottawa?
No, Toronto.
Oh God.
It was 2016 was the last time they hosted the Grey Cup, and that was kind of rough, because I still think back to that pizza promotion where you buy a pizza and you get 2 tickets to the Grey Cup kind of thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
That fiasco. I mean, I want to believe the current landscape of the Canadian Football League and how strong it is now compared to in 2016, we wouldn't be seeing something like that. But the fact that actually happened definitely gives pause for consideration. That could this happen again, especially if you're trying to fill a much bigger and more pimped out, for lack of a better term, BMO Field. And you want to put your best foot forward. You want to showcase this thing. What better way to do it than with a Grey Cup where the entire nation will be paying attention? But if you can't fill it because of any number of reasons, then that too is also a concern. So
if you're to give your odds, who would you give as your top 3? Because to me, I think I would probably go. I'd probably go Ottawa, Edmonton, then Toronto.
I'd be going Ottawa, Toronto, Edmonton, simply because, as I said, past 3, or actually last year, this year, and next year are all West. And you want to add another West on top of that, that's just, you got to break it up somehow.
Good point. Very good point.
Again, maybe 2028, you see it in Edmonton, and then back to Montreal for 2029, because by then I'm pretty sure Olympic Stadium will be finished with the construction, finished with a solid roof, and everything that's needed in order to host a Grey Cup properly. I could see Montreal 2029, but I think you got to go east in 2027, and I'd probably say Ottawa just over Toronto, also simply because in 2026 Toronto is going to be busy with the World Cup. So
yeah,
you really want to shoehorn another massive event and you have it get kind of lost in the sauce a little bit? I wouldn't want that. So I would probably say Toronto for 2027, Edmonton 2028, Montreal 2029, and hell, 2030 to Toronto.
Okay. Why not? And then I'm sure they'll give it to Ottawa sooner or later too. Especially with the new quote unquote new TD place.
Yeah, so they'll finish their construction and all that stuff too. So
we'll see. We're supposed to find out in a couple of months anyways. So it's very interesting and obviously if we can get the commissioner on the line here on the show, which we are actively doing, we'll ask him too. So it'd be very curious to see.
He's kind of ducking us, I think, because he's got time to go to Saskatchewan and go on the radio, but no time for the Alouettes Flightdeck. So
Come on.
the math ain't math in here, folks. But
Yeah.
we'll get it figured out.
Yeah. Again, stay tuned for all of our socials as we will be having Flight Deck Live following the game this Saturday. Win, lose, or draw. And again, go back and check out the last episode of Flight Deck Live prior. It is the last show technically that we just did, but it's a good listen nonetheless. Whether it be you watch it on YouTube or in our audio version. But other than that, I'm looking forward to being back at Personal Molson. Let's leave August in the rear view. And let's start September on a winning note. I'm sure that's what everybody is hoping that the Alouettes will do.
And that's the mindset you got to have. I mean, the past is the past. You can't change it. You got to be looking forward. As I said, the Burr months are coming. They're here now, really, when you think about it.
Shut your face. No.
Listen, not Burr.
I got to worry about. I even said that today at work. I said, I'm just worried because this may be the last day I'm able to wear shorts to work. So.
Well, listen, it's still summer for the next 3 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
So
there you go.
Cool your jets.
Let's go after. We've seen it being crappy in October. And then after Thanksgiving, we'll get into the Burr. Let the leaves fall, do what they nice do, because September's gonna be nice with the leaves and stuff like that. It's gonna be teasing us, and let's start September off in the right way. Let's start it off in the right way.
Yes, as I said, it's the last third of the year in the regular season for the Montreal Alouettes. You just gotta forget the past and just look to the future, look to the now, and just go out and do what you can do. As I said, it's about, at this point, remembering who the hell you are, remembering what this team is all about. And if they can just go out and do that, and it starts out on Saturday in Hamilton and keeps on going, this team can get itself back on track. There's no question in my mind that this Jason Moss-led team will get its act together, will get it figured out, and it'll be back to good times again.
Exactly.
It has to.
We'll talk to you guys on Saturday. If not, we will talk to you next week on the show. So for everybody here at the Alouettes Flight Deck, for Cliffy D, I'm Tim Capper. We're on Final Approach.